This video is brought to you by Squarespace. There's been a lot of talk about video game movies again recently, with the release of Pokemon Detective Pikachu a few months ago and apparent cancellation of a bunch of properties to be released by Fox under Disney's mantle. It's clear that despite us being proven wrong so many times in the past, there are still plenty of people who like to latch onto the hope that maybe one day a decent one will come out. And that's not an unreasonable hope to have, considering that while we may have gotten rid of a potential Mega Man and Sims movie, we can still look forward to Minion Mario and a Minecraft movie. Oh man. But while I won't be out here defending any of these past blunders, you have to admit that sometimes their heart was in the right place. There are a bunch of great Pokemon movies, I heard good things about the Inazuma 11 films, and even I, as a devout non-Detective Pikachu fan, can admit that that film's heart was in the right place and made steps in the right direction in terms of staying true to its source material and keeping the cringe to a minimum.
I think pants are gonna do you a lot of good right now.
But we still have a long way to go. Oh, what's this? Out there in the distance. Can you see it? Yes, I can see clearly now. A movie that stays true to the formula its gaming series is known for. Features charming characters, a brilliant soundtrack and story to match. That both introduces new fans to the series but doesn't dumb down itself either. It's perfect! No mushrooms on steroids, hedgehogs with teeth, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in sight. What is this beacon of light sure to be an inspiration for all movies to come? It's Angry Birds 2. Can't be right. What story would I even be? Oh, it's Layton. Oh, it's Layton. Oh, I'm so happy you're not a bird. Ah, yes, Professor Layton, a video game series synonymous with the DS family of consoles and one of the most popular puzzle games of all time. And one of the most beloved ones, too. It may not be a property most Westerners immediately associate Nintendo with, but alongside Phoenix Wright, which Layton was even partially inspired by, this top-headed English gentleman is quite possibly the most recognizable mystery-solving genius in gaming history. The two of them even starred in a 3DS game together a few years ago, meticulously blending the two series styles into one product that doesn't pale in comparison to any of the various appearances the professor has had on his own. All of which featured excellent writing, charming characters with astonishing variety, and of course, plenty of nerve-jangling puzzles to keep you busy and invested for hours at a time. Despite initially being conceived as only a spin-off to the popular game series Head Gymnastics, thanks to its charming protagonists Layton and Luke, these games have had a formula going for them that would ensure them a much longer lasting shelf life than even those pretty basic former puzzle games, with each game focusing on a different adventure the professor and his apprentice would embark on, whilst simultaneously delving further into the overarching mystery behind the world of Layton. While the first two games were pretty straightforward point-and-click style adventure games, the third entry, which many believe to be the best in the series, marks a shift that would signal just how much deeper this rabbit hole goes, which we would delve into with the preceding prequel trilogy that mainly took place on the 3DS, save for the first one. A game that admittedly falls a bit flat compared to the others in this franchise, but would lead up to what I don't think many of us saw coming, but we're happy to see announced. The theatrical animated feature called Professor Layton and the Eternal Diva, which would premiere in Japan in December 2009. That's right, Japan! I finally get to talk about an anime movie on my channel, which was a long time coming, seeing as how even my sponsors think I'm a, quote, anime and manga creator. Yeah. What's funny is that while the film may have premiered in 2009, it actually took a whopping 2 years for it to be localized in the US. But thanks to the games usually taking even longer to be released anywhere outside of Japan, it came to DVD around the same time it took the game this one takes place after to hit shelves. Therefore hopefully ensuring that you know what's going on before you go into this one. Although I wouldn't say that's inherently necessary either. I'd only played the games up to the Unknown Future before I first saw this film, and aside from one reveal in the latter half of the movie, had no issues understanding what was going on. It does a great job introducing first-time viewers or players to this franchise, starting off with a general overview of not just the characters themselves, but also how they came to be, alongside a short segment featuring some of the game's various side characters. Unlike other video game movies, this is not handled in a super on-the-nose manner where it basically spells out what to expect, but rather eases both new viewers and even those familiar with the franchise into the craziness that is about to ensue, because this film, it's going places. And those of you who've seen it likely know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who haven't, here's Layton playing a duet with one hand. What? That's crazy! Layton is legitimately one of the coolest protagonists in gaming. With his posh British accent and Doug Dimmadome hat, all his charm gets so seamlessly carried over to this film. He's now on to lose his cool over a trivial situation and stays level-headed yet affirmative. The perfect counterpart to Luke, who I could see some people perceive as a bit annoying, but serves as a great way of helping younger viewers better understand some of the more complex elements in this movie. In other words, the puzzles, which in this film take on the role of a means to eliminate potential suspects, as a mysterious figure tells a protagonist and everyone else attending the same concert that anyone who manages to complete his puzzles get granted the gift of eternal life. This ties into the very plot of the opera they attend, telling the story of the long-lost kingdom of Ambrosia, said to hold the secret to eternal life. And their client and main star of the show, Janice, believes strange happenings in town to be connected to the opera, and Layton to be the right person for the job. Yeah, she's right. If there's someone who knows his way around dead people, it's Layton. This man is hiding secrets under his head that you can begin to comprehend. As the puzzle served as the main element to the original Layton series, it's obvious they would also take on some role in this film, and really got integrated in an interesting fashion. I still remember pausing my DVD player after each explanation, trying to figure out where to head next, and while it's obviously not the same experience as playing the games, it got integrated so much better than any other video game movies tried to implement their main features. But an even better job was done in the art department, as this film looks and feels exactly like an elongated Layton cutscene. Depending on if you're into this chibi style with beige colors and easily distinguishable, if not to say weird character designs, you're gonna have a field day with this one. At no point did I feel alienated or even thought I was watching a movie. It genuinely didn't deviate at all. There are times when it's a good idea to take creative liberties, but when adapting something with such a clear formula, you want to make sure to stay as true to the source material as possible. That's the main reason the Sonic movies are already this hated, because people can tell it's gonna be yet another adaptation of the character that doesn't stay true to the main idea behind what made him special in the first place. But Layton has all those elements set in place, not just an identical art style. The chemistry between Layton and Luke feels as sincere as in the games, the plot takes turns you wouldn't see coming in a million years, there's giant robots, there's comedy, there's great action, music, suspense, and drama, and please tell me what this movie isn't talked about. It's got literally every element in it you could want from a video game movie, and doesn't even feel like it is trying to be. I've heard quite a few people say they've never even played any of the games, and still found enjoyment in this, and it's really not hard to see why. Something nearly every lesser game adaptation gets criticized for is lacking in a story first and foremost. The bulk of which as a cause of being based on a property that was just never cut out for featuring an intricate plotline within its universe. Level 5, the studio behind the Layton series, always set out to have the games be as easily accessible to casual players as possible, placing the story in the forefront and allowing the game to be played in bite-sized chunks, so it's only natural for a movie from the same team to follow the same basic principle, even if you're losing that sense of interactivity, which is much more important to properties like Mario or Street Fighter than Professor Layton or even Phoenix Wright, the anime adaptation of which works just as well on its own. The Layton franchise has turned into an even more casual one over the past few years, as subsequent entries and remakes were released on mobile, and Layton making cameos in other franchises such as Inazuma 11. This movie, unfortunately, was far from being a hit, putting a halt to a potential sequel and live-action adaptation that were in the works, but since the closest thing we have to that will likely be the case closed movie, that's for the better. It still marks a very interesting shift in video game movies, to me at least, where unlike the bulk of all Pokemon movies, which were based on the anime featuring different Pokemon, same with Digimon or those in that realm, and all live action video game adaptations, this is probably the truest adaptation of a video game we will get to see in the foreseeable future. I'm still willing to give the ones announced a fair shot, and that Dragon Slayer film sounds more than intriguing, but there just aren't many games around that feature a similar mixture of animated cutscenes progressing the plot laid out through puzzles and interactions with townfolk that translates so well to the big screen. Like, if there's anything at all I had to criticize this movie for, it's maybe that sometimes the pacing is a little off and that not all the voice acting in the English dub is pitch perfect, but this is still a great movie, even by non-video game adaptation standards. Thanks to the short-lived anime adaptation featuring Layton's daughter, the series was also brought over to a new generation. There could still be a future for video game movies if they get their shit together and stop trying to either condense a 15-hour-long game into a 90-minute movie or try and pull one out of thin air from a franchise that barely has enough characters to work for a short. We got so many more later down the line, and I really don't want them to be 30 more Mortal Kombats. And while there may not be a way for me to prevent that from happening, there is one to help you put together a great website, with Squarespace. If you need to put together a new website for any of your upcoming projects, then Squarespace is the perfect way to do so. You got tons of great templates you can use and modify to your liking. It takes no prior installation or experience in web design to set it up, and you can directly choose any domain you want from the site itself. It's all built into the service, super easy to set up, and allows for easy importing of any form of media you want to really make the site feel personal to you. You can directly post any changes you make or announcements you have to all your social media at once, and Squarespace even offers live chat support in case of any problems with your site. What's more is that setting up your site is completely free when you go to squarespace.com/Cosmodore and then just use my code Cosmodore to get 10% off your first purchase. There are no surprise charges after acquiring a domain and no long-term contracts required. It's fully transparent and straightforward. Just head over to squarespace.com/Cosmodore and use Cosmodore for 10% off your first purchase. And play a Layton game while you're at it. The second one's my favorite.
Do you not prefer the first one?